Hello, I'm Stephanie Anderson with Simply Bound. Thank you so much for tuning in today. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you this really pretty cable stitch. It's a twisted cable stitch, and I used this in my Adoration Shawl that you can see here. It just divides these two different sections of stitches. It has a lot of texture. It's a really fun component. So thank you for being here, and we will go right ahead and jump into that tutorial. Okay, here I have my sample swatch for this twisted cable stitch, and as you can see, it has so much dimension and texture. It's just a really beautiful stitch. This cable repeat is worked over 9 stitches and 4 rows. In order to get all of this texture and dimension in this stitch, excuse me, you increase and decrease back out throughout your 4-row repeat. And I will go ahead and show you how that's done. All right, so when you start on row 1, your cable stitch starts with those 9 stitches right there in the center. So you're going to work per your pattern up until your cable stitch, your cable stitch pattern stitches, I should say. Okay, so row 1, purl 1. Let's get some yarn loose here. All right, purl 1, and you're going to knit 1, knit 2. Okay, and here's our first increase, but it is all worked in this same stitch. So you're going to knit 1, yarn over 2 times, knit 1 in that same stitch. Okay, so now you can see there are 1, 2, 3, 4 loops coming out of this one stitch. Slip the next stitch with your yarn and back. And now we're just going to mirror what we did for those first 4 stitches on the other side. Knit 1, yarn over 2 times, and knit 1 all in that same stitch. So now you have 4 loops on that side. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then knit 2, purl 1, and go ahead and finish out your row. So after row 1, you have gone from 9 stitches to 13 stitches in your cable stitch repeat. Now on row 2, we're going to get rid of 2 of those stitches. So go ahead and work up to your cable pattern. Oops. Okay. So here's our first one. You knit 1. You're going to purl 2. Okay, and here is how we decrease one of those stitches. Here is that stitch that those 4 loops were made out of. We're going to hold our yarn in front of our work. You're going to slip 1, which was one of the knit stitches. Then here's your double yarn over. You're just going to grab that and let that other loop fall off. So you're creating a bit of an elongated stitch there, and then go ahead and slip that other knit that you created. Purl 1. Now we're going to go ahead and decrease one of those others. So keep your yarn in front of your work, slip 1. Here's your double yarn over, slip 1 off and let the other one fall. And then slip that other knit stitch. Purl 2, knit 1, and work until the end of your row. So at the end of row 2, you have decreased from 13 stitches down to 11 stitches, leaving only 3 loops coming out of that single stitch. If you can see it right there. Row 3 is the row where the magic happens. where you work that twisted cable stitch. So you work up to your cable stitches, purl that first one. Okay, I am choosing to work this cable without a cable needle because of the nature of the cable itself with the twisted aspect. In order to twist that cross, you will knit those 3 stitches together through the back loop. And I just find it less fiddly not using a cable stitch for this particular cable. If you are more comfortable using a cable needle, that is absolutely fine, and it will work just the same. So the first cable that you work is a 3/2 twisted right cross. So I'm going to pass over these first 2 stitches in the front of my work and insert my needle into the front of those 3 stitches. If you're using a cable needle, they will be held in front of your work. I'm going to go ahead and flip-flop these. Okay. And since I'm working this in the back loop, I'm not going to drop my right needle out. I'm just going to leave it in there and work those 3 stitches through the back loop. And then knit the next 2 stitches. You will slip that center stitch with your yarn in the back. And now we will work the 3/2 twisted left cross. So I'm going to pass over, these are the 3 stitches coming out of that 1 stitch. I'm going to pass over those with my needle behind my work and put my needle in the back of the next 2 stitches. I'm going to go ahead and slip them off. And so those get held in the back of your work. I'm going to go ahead and knit 2. And then here's those 3 stitches that I'm going to knit through my back loop to create that twisted cross. Purl 1 and work to the end of my row. So now I decreased on row 3 back down to 9 stitches. And then row 4, you simply just work even across your pattern. Well, here we are. We're there already. Okay, so you knit 1 and you purl 7. And knit 1 and then work to the end of your row. All right, and you can see just that beautiful dimension in those twisted cross stitches. One thing I would like to mention about this stitch pattern, if you are knitting my Adoration Shawl, the stitch count in the pattern, I chose to leave the cable stitches for every row at 9. And I did that purely for simplicity. Counting those extra loops that came out of 1 stitch as 1 just made it easier and less confusing as you're counting stitches per every row, because there are increases and decreases happening in other places of the shawl. So it just kept things easier. So I just wanted to throw that caveat in there in case you are knitting the Adoration Shawl and you're looking at the stitch counts and you're like, wait, why are they not increasing and decreasing in the cable section? And that is why, purely out of simplicity. There is a note within the pattern for that as well, and I will have a link for that pattern below in the notes of this video if you're interested in knitting the Adoration Shawl. Otherwise, I hope that you find some beautiful things to work this stitch pattern into. It's beautiful. There's so much texture and dimension in it, and it's really fun to work, and it's easy to memorize after you work a couple rows. It's easy to follow that repeat without any notes. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you have a great day.